A warm welcome to all our new Form 4 students and other viewers. This is Teacher Janet with a channel entitled Learn Bio with Janet at TWIN Enterprise. In this video, we will be introduced to the subject biology in more detail than what you have studied in lower forms. So biology is the vibrant study of life, and it is a fascinating and interesting subject, as we can relate to the topics discussed directly when we discuss the human body, nutrition, health problems, and the organisms around us. Now, biologists explore everything from tiny cells like the amoeba to ecosystems like the tropical rainforest. They investigate how living organisms function and interact with the environment. It is an exciting field that unravels the mysteries of the natural world. So for more in-depth learning, you can explore my resources and videos in this channel, which cover various topics related to biology KSM for Form 4 and 5 students. Now, these videos are also applicable to other courses such as IGCSE Biology and other syllabuses around the world. So the videos here aim to help you understand biological concepts clearly, to build a good foundation in biology, and to ultimately help you excel in biology. So let's study biology together. Are some benefits that you will derive from my channel called Learn Bio with Janet at TWIN Enterprise. Firstly, excellent teaching from a very experienced teacher with smart notes included. Secondly, memory tips are suggested to help you recall easily your facts for certain topics like photosynthesis and respiration. Thirdly, there are SPM focused questions with questions similar to those that come out in SPM, plus techniques of answering exam questions to help you score A+ in your exams and especially in SPM. Fourthly, there are paper 3 techniques and experiments with model questions and answers given and discussed to help you ace your paper 3 exam. Fifthly, a new section will be the analysis and quick review of topics which will be developed this year. And lastly, not forgetting HOTS questions to stimulate your mind to think and help you to answer the HOTS questions well in SPM. The learning standards or objectives of this video are as follows. Fields and careers in biology. Firstly, after this lesson or video, we should be able to state the meaning of biology. Secondly, list the fields of study in biology, the careers and development in the related fields of biology. Number 3, we should be able to generate ideas about development in biology fields and contribution of technology in biology to humans. And fourthly, give examples of careers or jobs related to the fields of biology. 1.1 Fields and careers in biology. What is biology? Now, the definition of biology, it actually comes from the word biology itself. So the word biology comes from 2 Greek words, meaning bios. The word bio comes from the word bios, meaning life. And the word logy here comes from the word logos, meaning to study something. So biology is the study of life or living things or living organisms in the natural environment. Now, what's the use of studying biology? Biology allows us to understand the structures and functions of organisms like this algae here, and structures of cells, animal cells, plant cells, also structures of DNA, for example, in the nucleus of the cells. It also helps us to study the relationships and interactions between organisms with their natural environment, such as in the tropical rainforest. What are the interactions between organisms, among organisms, and also between organisms and the rivers, the land, and so forth. So biology also helps us to understand diseases affecting organisms and environmental problems, as well as to find solutions to overcome these problems. Let's look at some fields of study in biology. So fields of study in biology are also called biological research areas. Examples are botany, genetics, microbiology, physiology, and anatomy. The first biological research area or area of study in biology is botany. Okay, it's sometimes called the field of study, the different fields of study. So botany is the study of plant life. For example, the study of plant anatomy, meaning the structure of plant parts like the flowers, the stems, and the leaves. Now, this will be discussed in some chapters in our biology syllabus, especially for Form 5, Form 5 biology syllabus. So we also study the plants that are strange, like the pitcher plant, which digests insects and other organisms that fall into inside its hollow structure here. Okay, so what's the nutrition of the pitcher plant? Does it carry out photosynthesis? Well, we will find out in Form 5. And then we also study strange plants like Rafflesia, which is an exception in the plant world because it's a parasitic plant. It obtains its nutrients from the host, such as the woody trees, right? So it grows at the roots of the woody trees and it absorbs the nutrients from the trees. So in botany also, uh, plant genetics and breeding is studied. For example, studying about the different tomato varieties here and how to breed them, okay? And then the study of also the variation in crops and also how to improve the production and the quality of the crops through plant genetics. Then plant physiology is also studied in botany. So this includes the life processes carried out by plants and mechanisms such as the mechanism of photosynthesis in plants to produce the organic food substances from carbon dioxide and water. Now, one interesting area of study in biology or one interesting biological research area is genetics. So genetics is the study of inheritance. In Malay, it's called pewarisan. Chinese is yichuan. What is inheritance? Inheritance is the passing down of traits or characteristics or sifat-sifat from parents to their children through the genes of the parents. Okay, in Malay we call it gen and Chinese is jiyin. So, for example, here you can see a mother and daughter. Both of them have one similarity that's very clear, and this is the color of the eyes. What color is it? Yes, it's green in color. So the mother has passed on the genes for green eyes to the daughter, right? How? Because the mother's ovum containing the genes of the mother was fertilized and this produced the daughter. So the genes were passed down to the daughter through the ovum or in the ovum of the mother. Okay, so that's inheritance, the passing down of traits from the parent to the child. Now, so what is a gene that's passed down from what are genes that are passed down from parent to child? Each gene is a unit of inheritance that determines certain traits or characteristics of a person, a certain trait or characteristic of a person, such as eye color, skin color, blood group, and type of hair, right? So in a cell, there is a nucleus, and in the nucleus, there are many chromosomes, okay? And these chromosomes are made up of a DNA molecule and other molecules. So each chromosome consists of a long DNA molecule that is coiled up. And if we were to straighten the molecule, we will find that genes are placed or positioned linearly along the DNA molecule, different genes. Okay, so a gene is just a segment of DNA with very specific instructions to make a specific protein each that will determine the characteristics of the human or the organism, right? Now, so the study, genetics is the study of inheritance, and also genetics is the study of genetic variation, meaning differences between organisms of the same species. Okay, so this is taken from your textbook. Now, what is genetic variation? Differences between organisms of the same species, as we can see here. So this picture shows a group of 4 people that are very different in their traits. For example, the skin color is different, right? And then the hair type of hair is also different. This girl has curly hair and this boy has spiky straight hair. Okay, and then the color of the hair is also different. This girl is blonde and this man has black hair, right? Even the color of eyes are different. Okay, and then even the blood group may be different. For example, there are 4 blood groups in humans: A, B, AB, and O. Okay, so the blood group may be different among the 4 of these people, the 4 people. So that's variation. So genetics is the study of the differences between organisms of the same species, such as human beings. The third area of biological research is microbiology, which is the study of microorganisms. Micro here means tiny. So microorganisms are tiny organisms that cannot be seen with the naked eye. Okay, we cannot see it just by using our eyes. We have to use a microscope, whether it's an electron microscope or a light microscope here. All right. So electron microscope is of course more powerful, okay, to view these microorganisms more clearly. So examples of microorganisms are bacteria, algae, protozoa, fungi, and virus. These are the 5 different types of microorganisms that we will study in this syllabus too, okay, in Form 5. Okay, bacteria, algae, protozoa, fungi, and virus. So here we see the use of a microscope to enlarge and view the microorganisms more clearly, right? And microbiologists may culture or grow bacteria or fungi or even viruses. Okay, in this case, you can see the growth of bacteria in a petri dish. So maybe to study the characteristics of the bacteria and their effects on human health and so forth. So here is a funny memory aid to help you remember the 5 types of microorganisms studied in microbiology, right? Which are fungi, algae, viruses, bacteria, and protozoa. Think of the acronym: flip a very big pancake. Then take the first letter of each word. FAVBP. Okay? Okay? FAVBP. F for fungi, A for algae, B for virus, B for bacteria, and P for protozoa. Next, there's anatomy, which is the study of the structure of the human body. For example, the structure of the heart with its valves and its chambers, like the atrium or atria and the ventricles. And then the structure of the organs in the body, such as the structure of the lungs, what are the lungs made of, the stomach, the intestines, and so forth. We also study the structure of the skeletal system, what are the names of the bones in the body, and then we study various systems like the urinary system, the transport system, and the respiratory system, as these are a few examples of the various systems that we study. The next area of biological research is physiology. So this term tends to be very difficult for students to explain, but it's very simple. Physiology is actually the study of the functions and mechanisms and life processes in organisms. That means how the organisms function. What are their life processes? Okay, so we study these things in physiology. How organisms carry out processes such as respiration, digestion, reproduction, photosynthesis, locomotion or movement, and so forth. For example, in physiology, we study the breathing mechanism, how humans take in oxygen from the air, breathing oxygen, and how it gets to the lungs, and then is transported by the blood to the cells for respiration. So you also study the chemical reaction in cellular respiration and what occurs during respiration. That is the breakdown of glucose to produce energy. Then in digestion, we study how food is consumed and then digested in the stomach and the intestines, and also what are the functions of the various organs, other organs like the liver in digestion. Then for reproduction, we study how an organism produces new organisms, okay, like the budding of yeast. The physiology of yeast involves the budding of yeast. For locomotion, we study the movement of organisms, like for men, how they walk, for insects, or birds, how they fly, okay. Then we also study various mechanisms, like the mechanism of the heartbeat, the breathing mechanism, right? How does the heart pump blood, right? First the atrial contract, then this is followed by the ventricles. So how do these processes occur? Okay, we study about a certain tissue that can send impulses, okay, from the heart, from inside the heart, can send impulses for contraction of the chambers of the heart. Now, for plant physiology, we study processes like photosynthesis, how plants obtain organic or manufacture their own organic food substances through photosynthesis by using carbon dioxide and water. Next is the biological research area called ecology. So ecology is interesting for those who love the outdoors and who love nature. And it is the study of the interactions between organisms and the environment. So, for example, an ecologist will go into the forest or the fields, okay, to the environment and study how animals, for example, in the tropical rainforest, how the monkeys live, what are their habits, how do they reproduce, and what do they eat, and so forth, right? And study the life cycle of the monkeys, for example. And here we see the field ecosystem. So in ecology, the food web in the field is studied. That means what are the producers, the primary consumers and secondary consumers that eat the primary consumers, and so forth. So the feeding relationships is studied, and then also what are the physical factors or abiotic factors that affect the distribution of the organisms and the life of the organisms, such as temperature, sunlight, rain or moisture, and so forth. Then in this syllabus, we are going to study about the ecology of the mangrove swamp. Okay, what are the animals living in the mangrove swamp, which is near the sea and which contains a lot of salt water, salty sea water. So what are the adaptations of the trees in the mangrove swamp so that they can live in this salty environment, which is not suitable for land plants, right? So they are very special adaptations. So it's very interesting to study ecology, okay, when we discuss the adaptations of the organisms to survive in their natural environment. Then of biotechnology. So biotechnology is a field that uses biological processes and organisms, such as microorganisms like bacteria and fungi, to develop useful biological products and technologies, such as the production of vaccines, hormones, and even food products to solve problems for mankind. Okay, so products of biotechnology include the hormone insulin, which is injected into diabetic patients to control the blood sugar level. The insulin can convert excess blood glucose into glycogen to be stored in the liver. And then vaccines produced through genetic engineering, like through bacteria that are modified. And then biofuel from plants, okay, that means these plants can produce fuel that can uh, power the vehicles, but it's produced from plants, so it's by natural means. And then cloning of organisms, in which identical copies of a living organism is produced, right, through the process of cloning. Products are used in various sectors like the healthcare, agricultural and industrial sectors. Right? For example, hormones and vaccines are used in healthcare. Here are other fields of study in biology which are not mentioned in the textbook, but just for extra information. Zoology is the study of all types of animals, such as tigers, lions, deers, sheep, and so forth. Taxonomy is the study of the classification of organisms. So organisms can be classified in their different kingdoms, then phylum, and then their families, the orders, the class, families, and orders, and finally the genus and the species. So humans have been classified in the class of mammals, mammalia, and also they have this name that consists of their genus and species. They are called Homo sapiens. Okay, so that is the use of taxonomy to classify organisms, also according to their genus and species. Entomology is the study of insects, all types of insects. So this course is offered in our local university, and students who study entomology should be able to identify different types of insects, including the pests that cause diseases, okay, in the crops. Mycology is the study of all types of fungi, like different types of species of mushrooms, yeast, bread molds, and so forth. Secondly, let's look at examples of contributions of biology in everyday life. For example, through the use of in vitro fertilization, which is developed for couples who may want to have children but may have difficulties due to blocked fallopian tubes in the wife. Then through the production of transgenic crops that can help increase the quality of the crop and also the quantity of the crop for the use of or for the consumption of human beings. And then thirdly, through the production of various types of food, such as yogurt. Let's find out more. Now, the first contribution of biology is in the medical field. So biology is very important in the medical field, and there are lots of research done. For example, to develop the technique of in vitro fertilization. So as I said, in vitro fertilization, or IVF, okay, I, V, and F, this is a fertility treatment for women whose fallopian tube in the uterus, beside the uterus, the fallopian tube is blocked. Okay, the fallopian tubes are blocked. So then the doctor will have to take out the eggs from the ovary here, and also the sperm is obtained from the, usually is the husband, right? And then these are allowed to mix in a culture medium, whereby inside the petri dish, for example, or a test tube, the eggs will be fertilized by the sperms. Okay, so egg and sperm fuse or fertilize, undergo fertilization outside the body in a laboratory inside usually a petri dish or a test tube, and this will form the embryo, which is like the new organism. So it is transferred back into the uterus to allow the embryo to implant in the uterus of the wife and then to develop into a baby normally. Okay, but the fertilization occurs outside the body, so it's called in vitro fertilization. In vitro means in the glass. Now, contraceptives are methods or devices used to prevent pregnancy. So this is used in family planning. For example, the condom, diaphragm, through injection, okay, IUD, intrauterine device, right, which is inserted in the uterus of a woman to prevent pregnancy, right? Spermicide to kill sperms. Oral contraception is eaten by the woman to prevent pregnancy, and so forth. So some of this we will study later on. Okay, some of these uh, techniques or research developments, right? So don't worry about it. This is just a basic introduction. Now, plastic surgery is carried out on people to, for example, improve the appearance of the skin or the structure of the bones and all that on the face and so forth. So and also for burn victims who may need to undergo plastic surgery in order to remove the skin that is already injured and burnt and replace it with new skin from other parts of the body, which can help to repair, okay, the skin on the face, okay, and so forth. Now, gene therapy is a method or a type of advanced method for treatment of genetic diseases, whereby the faulty gene that cause diseases may be taken out of the DNA in the cells, okay, and then be replaced with a normal gene. So this this method of treatment, therapy means treatment, is still being researched and developed, okay, but it bears a lot of potential to help those patients who have genetic diseases, to be able to help them replace the faulty genes with the normal genes. They can help them to carry out normal processes, right? Now, in the pharmaceutical field, uh, research has led to the production of synthetic vitamins, okay, vitamins that can be eaten, for example, vitamin C that are man-made, and then production of vaccines, as we have said before, for example, the COVID-19 vaccine. So vaccines are the uh, suspensions that contain killed or weakened bacteria or viruses. And when they're injected into the body, they will stimulate the body of a person and train it to produce antibodies against that particular vaccine or that particular bacteria or virus, right? So vaccines protect us from diseases by stimulating production of antibodies to fight the germs. So when these levels of antibodies are high, they can actually prevent the person from falling sick from the disease, even though the person is exposed to the germs or the bacteria or viruses of that disease. Okay, so vaccines give a form of protection against disease. Then production of hormones like insulin is carried out using the genetically engineered bacteria, right? So insulin can be produced on a larger scale using these bacteria that are genetically modified. So they can help to produce, the bacteria can help to produce insulin in large amounts. Then this insulin is extracted and then it can be bottled up and then used by the diabetic patient, those that suffer from diabetes mellitus. Okay, so you just need to inject the insulin into the, for example, the skin at the stomach to lower the blood sugar levels, especially after a meal, after they've eaten something. Thirdly, the contributions of biology in food production. For example, in the use of microorganisms such as bacteria and yeast to produce delicious products like cheese, soy sauce, yogurt, tapai, and tempeh. So, for example, most of us like to eat yogurt and cheese. So these two products are fermented dairy products made by a bacteria called lactobacillus bacteria found in milk. Now, what's the meaning of the word fermented? Fermented products are products usually produced by microorganisms when they break down the carbohydrates in the food when there's a lack of oxygen. Okay, it's a breakdown of food products to form the final products when there is a lack of oxygen in the surroundings of the microorganisms. So yogurt and cheese are fermented dairy products made by lactobacillus bacteria, whereas soy sauce is also a fermented product made from soya beans, okay, by using the fungus Aspergillus species, okay, by a fungus. Whereas yogurt and cheese are produced from milk by the lactobacillus bacteria. Now, tapai is traditional fermented rice. It also contains some alcohol, because alcohol is a product of the breakdown of the carbohydrates, okay, in the rice. And it is made by using yeast. It is a traditional product. Tempeh is also a traditional product that is produced through fermentation of soya beans. All right, this is tempeh. And of course, it is made by using fungus, okay, like for soy sauce, okay. So the microorganisms involved in the production of these types of fermented foods are yeast, okay, this is yeast. It's like a brownish powder. And then this is lactobacillus bacteria, which is rod-shaped. It is found in milk, and it can carry out fermentation of milk when there's lack of oxygen. Fermentation of milk or breakdown of the milk products, okay, to produce products. Breakdown of milk to produce products such as yogurt and cheese. We will be studying more of this in another chapter. I think it's chapter 7. The contributions of biology in agriculture. Examples are in the production of transgenic crops and animals, hydroponic technology, and aeroponic technology. Now, this term, transgenic crops and animals, we will be learning more of this in the last few chapters of Form 5. Okay, so don't worry about it. But here I'll try to explain it as simply as possible, first of all. Now, what's a transgenic organism? A transgenic crop or animal? It is an organism that contains a foreign gene from another type of organism that has been inserted into its DNA. Okay, so the word trans comes from the word transfer, genic from the word gene. So a transgenic organism has experienced a transfer of genes where a gene from another type of organism has been placed in its DNA. Okay, now, for example, this is the DNA of the original organism or of the transgenic organism. The foreign DNA from another species of organism, for example, from another species of organism, has been inserted into its DNA. All right, so this will give the transgenic organism some special abilities, or in inverted commas, some superpowers based on the foreign DNA or gene that's inserted. Now, one example is the transgenic goat that can produce blood clotting factor, human blood clotting factor. Human blood clotting factor is a chemical substance that helps the blood to clot or solidify, membeku, so that blood will stop flowing out from a wound, and it prevents excessive blood loss at the wounds. So a transgenic goat has been produced that has the human gene for blood clotting factor. That means the human gene for blood clotting factor, for the production of blood clotting factor, has been placed in its DNA, right? So it is a special goat that has a human gene. This will enable the goat to produce the blood clotting factor in its milk. Then this blood clotting factor can be injected into hemophilic patients whose blood cannot clot at wounds because they lack blood clotting factor. Hemophilic patients have the human gene, but it's defective human gene for blood clotting factor. So they don't produce a normal blood clotting factor, and their blood cannot clot. So if they get a cut, they will bleed excessively because there's no blood clotting. But they can be injected with this blood clotting factor from the milk of the transgenic goat, so that their blood can now clot, right? And this will prevent excessive blood loss at the wounds. So you will study this in Form 5 next year. Now, the second example here is golden rice, which is a type of rice that is transgenic or genetically modified because it has foreign genes from the daffodil plant. Why is it that we insert these foreign genes into the from the daffodil plant into the rice? Because these genes will code for the production of a substance called beta-carotene, which can be converted into vitamin A in the body, right? So the researchers found that many poor children in the poor countries suffer from eye diseases and even blindness due to the lack of vitamin A. So they decided to produce this golden rice that can supply the vitamin A to the people who eat it, right? And this can prevent eye diseases. Whereas if you look at the normal white rice don't have any genes for the production of beta-carotene. So the normal white rice plant cannot produce vitamin A. All right, it doesn't provide the vitamin A needed in the diet for good health. But golden rice can. Okay, and the color of the rice is a bit yellow in color, so it's called golden rice. Next, for the contributions of biology in agriculture, these are the examples. In the production of transgenic crops and animals, hydroponic technology and aeroponic technology. Let's discuss these two first, hydroponics and aeroponics. So hydroponic technology or hydroponics is a method of growing plants in nutrient-enriched solution, as seen here, without soil. So the roots are immersed in a nutrient-enriched solution that contains minerals like calcium, magnesium, nitrates, and so forth for plant growth. So the roots will easily absorb all these nutrients, right, for plant growth, and no soil is needed. So, but the roots have to obtain oxygen. Roots have to obtain oxygen while in water. So usually oxygen is pumped into the solution constantly or regularly. Now, what about aeroponics? Aeroponics comes from the word air. It means that it's a method of growing plants without soil where the roots are exposed to air because they are suspended in the air and they are not in direct contact or immersed in a pool of water. So that's why it's different from hydroponics where the roots are immersed in water. So how do the roots get water and nutrients? The roots of these plants are sprayed constantly with water from below, right? And this water or solution is again nutrient enriched, containing the minerals like nitrates, phosphates, magnesium, and so forth. So the roots do get the nutrients and the water is sprayed at regular intervals to make sure the roots do not dry up. The advantage is that the roots, when they are suspended in air, will get enough oxygen from the air for respiration and growth, and they can grow very healthily. So the nutrient solution will provide the nutrients for healthy plant growth too. So vegetables can be grown using hydroponics or aeroponics. Thirdly, let's discuss careers in biology. For example, optometrist, veterinarian, marine biologist, biomedical scientist, and a dentist. So what do these careers involve? Let's find out more. So the first career that we're going to discuss is the biotechnologist. Now, a biologist study and uses the living organisms such as bacteria and fungi and the enzymes. Okay, they use them to develop useful products and processes for use in various areas like medicine, agriculture, industry, and so forth. So examples of products that have been produced through the use of these living organisms, such as microorganisms, like bacteria, are the hormone insulin, which is used to treat diabetic patients that have high blood sugar levels so that the blood sugar level can be reduced, okay, through the injection of insulin. Then biofuel. So biofuel is a fuel produced through the use of microorganisms, right? And then vaccines, food like yogurt, and also the production of biodegradable plastics, which are plastics made using microorganisms. And these plastics are biodegradable, that means they can be broken down in time, in a certain period of time. So it's better than the synthetic plastic, right, which takes many, uh, much longer time to be broken down. Okay, whereas biodegradable plastics made from with the use of microorganisms are able to be broken down and they do not pollute the environment. Biomedical scientist, okay, is different from a biotechnologist. He or she works in the laboratory using complex equipment to conduct analytical tests on biological samples. So a biomedical scientist deals more with is working in the field of medicine, but they're not the doctors. They just analyze metabolic disorders or diseases, diagnose the cancerous tumors, identify infectious microorganisms, and so forth, all related to health. These test results will help doctors and medical staff to diagnose and treat a patient's disease. So their job is to analyze and determine the tissue samples, what are the characteristics of the tissue samples and what disease is it related to. We have the veterinarian. So this career choice is for students who love animals, okay, and understand animals. So they are animal doctors who treat diseased or injured animals. Fourthly, another career in biology is uh, the pharmacist, which is a popular choice among students. So a pharmacist specializes in the preparation and dispensing or selling of medicines, usually through a shop, okay, and they provide pharmaceutical advice and guidance to patients who are their clients. For example, they will inform the patients of the dosage of a certain medication and what are the side effects. So pharmacists are the primary care providers in the community, okay, other than doctors. Now, they may offer health screenings through the pharmacy. For example, they may offer blood glucose tests, bone density tests, blood pressure readings or measurements, and so forth. The next career in biology is optometrist, which is quite a common or popular choice for students. So an optometrist is a healthcare professional who provides eye care. He or she examines the eyes of the clients and then also related structures to diagnose and treat diseases or disorders that affect the eyes and the vision. For example, short-sightedness or eye infections like conjunctivitis. He or she may prescribe spectacles and contact lenses. Now, although an optometrist can detect cataracts, they cannot operate on the eye or perform eye surgery. Okay, that's the work of the ophthalmologist. Okay, now let's look at the difference here. What's the difference between an optometrist and an ophthalmologist? An optometrist is not a medical doctor, but is often referred to as an eye doctor because he or she holds a Doctor of Optometry OD degree. However, he or she is not a medical doctor, so he or she cannot perform surgery, such as cataract surgery. But an ophthalmologist is a real medical doctor. He or she is an eye doctor with a medical degree and can perform eye surgery, such as cataract operations. Now, marine biologist works in the sea. So he or she will study and do research on marine organisms such as fish, turtles, jellyfish, all right, corals, and so forth. They also study the marine ecosystems in the oceans. So obviously they need to know how to dive into the deep, into the sea, and they must be very comfortable swimming in the waters, all right, and a love for animals too. Now let us look at some questions in this formative exercise. Firstly, what is the meaning of the term biology? Right? So biology is the study of life and the interactions of living things with the environment. Secondly, list 3 fields of biology and the developments in those fields. So the first field is genetics, the development in the field of bioinformatics, okay, is occurring. So bioinformatics is a field that involves computer technology and software tools to collect and analyze complex biological data. Example is when we are storing and analyzing data on DNA, which is very complex. The genetic codes from DNA, what are the amino acids that are involved in the production of a protein, okay, based on the instructions from DNA and so forth. So they need this large amount of data needs to be stored, and usually of course computer the computer technology is used to store all this complex biological data. So this is the field of bioinformatics. Now, another field is microbiology. So the contribution or developments in this field is that it's used in the production of various vaccines and medicine, one of the latest being the COVID-19 vaccine. Biotechnology is another field, and one of the developments in this field is the production of biodegradable bioplastics. So what are bioplastics? Now, let's have a look at number 3. Choose one development in the field of biology and discuss its contributions to humans. So let's talk about the field of biotechnology and the production of biodegradable bioplastics. Biodegradable means that it can be broken down. These bioplastics can be broken down naturally. All right, and this, if you compare with the plastics that are produced through by the use of petroleum products, okay, the artificial plastic material, that one it is very hard to degrade it or break it down. That's why it's accumulating on Earth and in the oceans today. Okay, so it's better to produce the biodegradable bioplastics that can be broken down more easily and in a shorter period of time, so that they don't pollute the environment. Now, biodegradable bioplastics can be produced from agricultural byproducts or plants such as corn and sugarcane by using microorganisms such as bacteria to produce these biodegradable bioplastics, okay, from corn and sugarcane, rather than from petroleum, okay, or rather than producing the petroleum-based plastic products, which are non-biodegradable, or they may degrade after a very, very long time. So bacteria is used to produce natural polymers, which can be processed to form the biodegradable bioplastics. Now, fourthly, name 5 careers that are related to the fields of biology. Examples are wildlife biologists, forensic scientists, doctors, pharmacists, chiropractors, exercise physiologists, microbiologists, marine biologists, and botanists. Okay, so if you are choosing a career in one of these careers, you also have to balance it with whether it's in demand in the world today, all right, and also whether you can earn a living out of it. Okay, you have to take into consideration whether the job will be in demand in the years after. All right. So some people may try to may go into this line study to be a marine biologist, but they may land up having a lack of jobs to apply for. Okay, so it depends on the condition, on the country, and so forth. Okay, so that's it.